My husband reads the Bible to me every morning. It's our quiet time. It brings us peace. One day, he picked up the book like always, opened it, and started to read. But the words didn't come out right. Simple, familiar words, ones he'd spoken hundreds of times, were suddenly tangled. At first, I thought maybe he was just tired. But then, when he stood up and tried to explain he was going outside to do some chores, his sentence came out strange. He said something like, outside, pick sky chores. I looked at him, and I knew. He was trying to say something simple, but what came out didn't make any sense. When I asked if he was okay, he sat back down and said slowly, "I'm having trouble saying what I want." That's when I grabbed my bag and drove him to the hospital. Later, the doctor told us it was a TIA, a mini-stroke, a small blood clot, a short blockage in the brain. The symptoms disappeared in minutes. But the warning? That warning still echoes in my heart. What if I had ignored it? What if I thought it was just old age, or confusion, or fatigue? You see, these events are silent until they aren't, and by the time they're loud, it might be too late. So today, let's talk about the signs you must not ignore. For yourself, for your partner, for someone you love. A transient ischemic attack, or TIA, is often called a mini-stroke. But don't let that name fool you. The word mini makes it sound small, harmless, like something that comes and goes without consequence. But in truth, a TIA is your brain's way of sending out a red flag. It's a warning, not a whisper, but a shout. So, what exactly is a TIA? It happens when a blood clot briefly blocks blood flow to a part of your brain. The blockage usually clears on its own, and symptoms may last just a few minutes, often less than 5. Unlike a major stroke, a TIA doesn't cause permanent brain damage. That's why many people ignore it. But here's the catch. 1 in 5 people who experience a TIA will go on to have a full stroke within 90 days. That's why recognizing it and acting quickly could make all the difference. Instead of brushing it off as just a dizzy spell, or "I must have skipped breakfast," what if we treated it like the medical emergency it truly is? Because that's what it is, a medical emergency. And unlike other emergencies, this one gives you a second chance, if you're paying attention. So, the next time your body, or someone else's, shows even the smallest signs of confusion, weakness, or slurred speech, don't wait. Don't wonder. Get help. Because a mini-stroke might be temporary, but the next one might not be. When it comes to a stroke, or a mini-stroke, every second matters. So how do you know if it's happening? There's a simple tool. Just 4 letters. FAST. F stands for face. Ask the person to smile. Is one side of the face drooping? Does it look uneven? A is for arms. Have them lift both arms. Do they drift? Is one arm weaker than the other? S is for speech. Ask them to repeat a simple sentence like, "The sky is blue." Does their voice sound slurred? Are the words jumbled? T is for time. If you notice any of these signs, even just one, it's time to call 911. Immediately. Because the clock is ticking. And in a stroke, brain cells begin to die within minutes. Instead of guessing or waiting to see if it passes, this method gives you something clear, something you can do. Right now. It's not dramatic. It's not overreacting. It's being prepared. So the next time you're with someone, a spouse, a neighbor, a friend at church, and something feels off, run through the FAST test. And if even one thing doesn't seem right, don't wait. don't hesitate, because time lost is brain lost. And knowing what to do, fast, could save a life. Maybe even your own. Some strokes are loud, dramatic, unmistakable. But others, they arrive like a whisper. So quiet, in fact, that many people never realize what happened. They chalk it up to old age, to being tired, to just having an off day. That's why we need to talk about these 8 silent signs of a mini-stroke. Signs that often come and go within minutes, but still carry a deep and serious warning. 1. Sudden dizziness or balance problems. If you feel the room spinning, or if you suddenly lose your footing, even while standing still, don't ignore it. The part of the brain that controls balance may not be getting enough blood. Instead of thinking, maybe I stood up too fast, ask yourself, what if my brain just signaled a warning? 2. Numbness or drooping on one side. This one often shows up in the face, arm, or leg, but only on one side. Maybe your smile feels crooked. Maybe one arm feels weak. Maybe you notice your grip isn't what it was this morning. Even if it passes, it's a red flag. A major one. 3. Difficulty speaking or understanding. Have you ever found yourself searching for words you normally use with ease? Or heard yourself speaking, but the words come out wrong? Maybe someone asked you a question, and you understood the words, but couldn't figure out how to respond. That's not just forgetfulness. That's your brain struggling. 4. Trouble seeing clearly. Mini-strokes can affect the part of the brain that processes vision. You might suddenly have blurry vision. You might lose sight in one eye, even just for a few moments. Or maybe your depth perception is off. You bump into things more than usual. These aren't just aging eyes. These are neurological signs. 5. Difficulty concentrating. If your thoughts feel foggy, or your focus slips away faster than usual, it might be more than a distraction. This kind of confusion isn't just about being tired. It can happen when your brain is temporarily starved of oxygen. 6. Sudden, severe headache. We all get headaches from time to time, but this one feels different. It comes on fast. It's intense. It may hit like a wave behind your eyes or in the back of your head. And if you're not someone who usually gets headaches, that's even more reason to take it seriously. Instead of wondering if it's a migraine, wonder if it's your brain crying out for help. 7. Fainting or blacking out. Syncope. Losing consciousness for a few seconds might seem like nothing, but when paired with other symptoms like confusion, dizziness, or weakness, it could be something much more. The brain needs constant blood flow. If that flow drops, even briefly, the lights can go out. 8. Hallucinations or altered reality. Some people hear sounds that aren't there. Others see flashes of light, or feel a sudden sense of fear or confusion. One woman shared that her husband, after a TIA, completely forgot he ever smoked, even though he'd smoked 2 packs a day for 20 years. These moments may seem strange, or even funny at first, but they're not. They're neurological symptoms, and they deserve attention. Now, here's the hard truth. Many of these symptoms last only minutes. They disappear just as fast as they came. And that's exactly why so many people ignore them. But instead of saying, "It passed, I'm fine," what if we said, "It passed, but it means something"? Because it does. It means your brain was in trouble, even for just a moment. And next time, it might not end the same way. Some strokes don't come with flashing warning signs. No slurred speech, no collapsed arm, no spinning room. And yet, they leave a mark. These are called silent strokes. They happen when a tiny clot blocks blood flow to a small area of the brain, just long enough to cause damage, but not long enough to trigger obvious symptoms. So, how do you know one happened? Sometimes you don't. Not until much later. You might notice your memory slipping more than usual, or feel less steady on your feet, or find that following conversations is harder than before. Many people write these things off as just aging, but silent strokes can build up quietly, one after another, and over time, they change the brain. They can even increase your risk for vascular dementia. Now let's talk about another danger: recurrent mini-strokes. You see, a TIA doesn't just happen once and go away forever. For some people, it repeats. One woman shared that her mother had a mini-stroke in the morning, was evaluated and cleared, and then had another one 8 hours later. This time, she lost her ability to speak. That second event revealed a blocked carotid artery. So, even if you feel okay after the first one, don't assume the danger is over. Instead of waiting for symptoms to return, ask, what can I do right now to prevent the next one? Because what you do between strokes can change everything. So the mini-stroke ends. The symptoms fade. You feel okay, maybe even back to normal. But here's what no one tells you. Recovery doesn't always end when the symptoms do. For some, the real challenge begins after the event. Let's start with the most common complaint: fatigue. Not just, I need a nap, tired. We're talking about deep, persistent exhaustion, the kind that makes it hard to stay awake during a conversation. Research shows that if fatigue lasts for more than 2 weeks after a TIA, it may linger for months, even up to a year. Why? Because the brain has been through trauma. It's working harder to repair, to reconnect, to rebalance, and that takes energy. Then there's mental fog. People say things like, I used to follow every word in a conversation. Now I lose track halfway through. Or, I look at familiar words and they feel foreign. Some lose confidence in their ability to read aloud. Others struggle with writing, and it can take months to rebuild what once felt automatic. What about emotion? Anxiety, fear, even depression are common. After all, when something happens to your brain, it shakes your sense of safety. One day, you're fine. The next, you're wondering, will it happen again? That question can weigh heavily. So, what helps? Routine, support, patience, a team that listens, and most importantly, knowing what you're facing is real. This isn't just in your head. It's in your healing. Instead of thinking, why am I not bouncing back like before? Try asking, what does my brain need now to recover well? Because the better your care after a mini-stroke, the better your odds of preventing the next one. Sometimes, it's not just what happens in the hospital that matters. It's what happens at home, in your kitchen, your daily routine, and even your thoughts. Let's talk about 3 silent factors that can quietly raise your risk for a mini-stroke, without you even noticing. 1. Chronic stress. You might not think of stress as a medical condition, but did you know that people with high emotional stress, or depression, or frequent anger have up to double the risk of stroke or TIA? One study found that hostility alone increased stroke risk by more than 100%. Stress changes your body. It raises your blood pressure. It affects your sleep. It even tightens your arteries. So the next time you tell yourself, I'll just push through, stop and ask, at what cost? 2. Poor nutrition. It's not about going on a diet. It's about giving your brain what it needs. A high sodium, high sugar, processed food lifestyle silently contributes to blood clots, high cholesterol, and inflammation. Instead of grabbing what's easy, think, what can I eat today that protects my brain tomorrow? 3. Inactivity. You don't need to run marathons, but staying still, day after day, lets your circulation slow, your muscles weaken, and your brain lose oxygen flow. Even a 15-minute walk, a few stretches in the morning, or standing up once an hour can make a difference. These risk factors don't show up in bold letters. They creep in quietly, but they're reversible, manageable. And when you change these habits, you change your odds. So, how do we protect ourselves and those we love from a mini stroke? Fortunately, there's a lot we can do, and most of it starts with simple, steady steps. The CDC recommends several key strategies. Let's walk through them, not as medical advice, but as a conversation between people who care. First, control your blood pressure. This is the #1 risk factor for stroke. And the good news? It's one of the most treatable. Instead of waiting for your numbers to climb year after year, take control now. Get a home monitor. Talk to your doctor. Cut back on salt. Move a little more. Second, manage cholesterol and blood sugar. High cholesterol can clog arteries. Uncontrolled diabetes damages blood vessels. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be aware. Regular checkups matter, especially if stroke runs in your family. Third, stop smoking, or don't start. Nicotine thickens your blood. It raises your pressure, and it damages the lining of your arteries, which is like pouring sand into a narrow pipe. If you smoke, quitting is the most powerful thing you can do for your brain. Fourth, medication, but only with guidance. Low-dose aspirin may help prevent future clots, but never take it during an active stroke. It could make things worse. Always follow your doctor's advice, because prevention isn't about fear. It's about freedom. The freedom to age with clarity, to keep reading to your grandkids, to stay present. That's the life we're protecting. Maybe you've already seen the signs. Maybe you've felt them. Or maybe someone you love had a moment that didn't feel right, but passed too quickly to explain. If that ever happens again, don't forget what we talked about here. Because a mini stroke isn't just something that goes away. It's the brain raising its hand, asking for help before it's too late. You have power in that moment to act, to protect, to prevent what could come next. So, if this video helped you, even just a little, give it a like. And more importantly, share it. You never know who might be one symptom away from a life-changing stroke, and who might finally get the help they need, just because you sent them this message. And don't forget to subscribe. We've got more coming. Stories, science, and real ways to stay sharp, stay strong, and stay you. Because growing older shouldn't mean growing weaker. It should mean getting wiser and taking care of what matters most. Your life, your memories, your future.